Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Film Valor. My name is Jamison LoCascio, and this is
Adam Ambrosio.
And we just want to welcome you to another episode. I'll let Adam take it away.
Alright guys, we have another cool episode for you guys today. Today we're talking about Annabelle, the creation, and how James Wan and David F. Sandberg have kind of breathe this fresh air into horror films and where the style that they're taking it from.
Yeah, what I think is cool is Adam and I went out and saw Annabelle Creation, right? And we were very excited about this movie, I think for a lot of reasons, because of the fact that it was a continuation of Conjuring, that they had done Annabelle before, but we both thought that David F. Sandberg, was a great director, a great choice for this movie, and we really liked Lights Out and a lot of the stuff that he had done prior to this. So we were interested and excited to see what he would do, what this filmmaker would do with James Wan, and we felt that was really an exciting prospect, right?
Yeah.
Because Wan's such a great producer. He's so many things, man.
Yeah, he really has like a passion. For this. And, and he's good at whatever he does. And
he really
I think
is.
it's a dedication and how much he really has a vision for it.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing that we had talked about, and actually, I'll be the first one to admit, my knowledge of the horror movie genre is definitely lacking. Yeah, I have to defer to you on the classic stuff in a lot of ways. I know I guess I could say some of the more primary classics, but I don't know the whole other realms here. And you do. And I think one of the things that was interesting about what you brought up to me was that he's throwing back, to those horror movies in the decades that you really cared about and the things that you grew up on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the, the horror films that I grew up were, I think probably the first one I ever saw was Exorcist, you know. And I think that's still considered probably the best horror film ever. Yeah. But I mean, there's so many different elements, Rosemary's Baby and all those just classic haunted,
Exactly.
It has that feel to it. I mean, there's a good I don't know, maybe decade where, horror films were, they kind of made it a real urban, type of I don't know. It just didn't have that old school quality, and the old school quality was wasn't broken.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was that focus was it was Polanski. It was these people making movies that had horror elements. You know what I mean? They were making great dramas that had horror elements, and that's what I think Wan is doing here. You know what I mean? He's really looking at a character story. Yeah. I mean. The other thing was, too, that was so great about Conjuring, I mean, even if you just look at an element of Conjuring 2, was when they had Patrick Wilson's character sitting there with the guitar and singing the song. That was a great character moment for him. Right. And you really sat there and said, okay, well, great, Patrick Wilson can sing, that's cool. But also, I don't know a lot of horror movies nowadays that would take their time on something that's so irrelevant to the plot. But you could see that Wan would push for that sort of thing because he's all about characters, right? And it's like you can't. And I think the argument then becomes from his perspective, and you could see it with him as a filmmaker, is that why would you care about the horrors going on around these people if you don't care about the characters themselves? Right. Exactly.
You have to get behind the characters,
and that's great. And, and it's weird to think that that's sort of rare. But it is. It's washed out. It's washed out of these movies now.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you look at it, it's always or predominantly, the teens going into the woods, trying to get drunk and high.
And there's the jock guy. It's there's the goofy guy.
Honestly, it always comes down to, and we're getting a little off topic, but we're getting into it. But it always comes down to that one person, the one guy or the one girl who's completely quiet and. The goody two shoes, and they always,
I know,
and it's come on.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's realistically, this is not going to happen.
No, you're going to the same moral lesson.
Yeah, and I can't get behind any of the characters. But
Oh well, we can't. Okay, we can't spoil. We shouldn't spoil anything in Annabelle because I was just about to say something, but I won't. But what's good about Wan on the whole though is that they don't go by that rule book. They go by their own stuff.
Yeah, and especially in this one because. I mean. There's a shock and then there's the scare factor and the jump or whatever the jump and the scare or whatever but
and he's willing to go for the characters that do have a moral code you know what I mean like
exactly.
He'll go for anybody.
I mean in this one
nobody's safe James Wan film
right
and you know what I like too about what Sandberg was doing here is there was a definitive the quality of the filmmaking was great. I mean there's a certain I mean we saw this movie with another person as well, 2 other people, and the other person that was with us also commented that there was an intense attention to suspense that it was constantly paced out to the fact that every single moment was pretty much tense from 20 minutes on, whatever it was, and it was relentless. And
not even like 10 minutes in.
But there's
already something there.
And you still had a great sense of these characters and everything else, and so you got to give them a lot of credit, and you got to give Sandberg a lot of credit for that too, and definitely Wan as well for understanding that you can push that far. Did you hear the crazy story? And this was something that I just read about. I think there was a woman in Brazil who walked out of this movie, Annabelle, and was going through a fit and punching herself in the face and stuff like that, and she knocked herself out because she felt the movie was really intense and it was really crazy. I don't know what that was about, and there was no there's no lead out of that at all. But you know what? After I read that, I was I had to sit there for a second and be this movie was intense. It was really intense. It was scary. It was scary. I mean, there's parts of it that was whoa, okay, they're going there.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there was usually I try to pick up on as many things as possible.
Yeah.
But there was 2 times, and I can't say what they were, but it just came out of nowhere, and it's not a scare or a jump or anything. It's just that you gotta look around.
Yeah.
I gotta say you gotta look around.
Yeah.
And because when you do realize something, it's like being paralyzed. It's It's like deer in the headlights. It's what do I do?
It's great.
Yeah,
and so I guess I mean, so let's talk about David Sandberg, right? Because this dude's really cool. I mean, he's done. I mean, he makes movies with his wife, right? Or that's how they started out. They won this competition, making the short Lights Out, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Really well made, and obviously no money. And then, he goes from there, and then he makes Lights Out. I think, Wan had seen that short and everything else. They make Lights Out, which I enjoyed. I thought it was good. I actually think this way surpassed that. But I thought Lights Out was good, though.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it, and I thought the concept itself, and I think in horror movies a lot, it becomes more high concept, that it's about the idea of this thing working, and that'll make the movie work. The monster's got to work. There's a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like the dynamic, or I like the idea of it being, lights out. This thing is here, lights off. So that was very simple, but it worked well. But then this guy's making movies with his wife, just in their apartment or whatever it was, and then you see his progression, and you can see all these shorts, especially for filmmakers out there that are interested in making horror movies. You can see that this guy, not that long ago was making animations even. I see that he's an animator as well. But also that they were just shooting stuff on their cheap Blackmagic camera.
Yeah.
And he took a lot of those lessons into making Lights Out, into making Annabelle and everything else. And this guy's got a great YouTube channel as well. We'll try to make sure we put that down in the comments so you can check him out. I mean, this guy's really cool. And he's very inspiring, especially for anyone that wants to get into horror or anything else, and he just seems like a really cool dude, and he knows what he's doing. And I love that his wife's in all the movies.
Yeah,
because she's a good actress.
She is,
and I mean, that's just a cool story, and you don't see that type of thing a lot. That's pretty unique, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. So
which one were you watching just now?
I was actually just watching the short Lights Out.
Lights Out, yeah.
And I have to say, I actually thought before you came in, I was watching it, and she's in the hallway, and she turns off the light. I think the thing that scared me the most was not seeing you know, when the lights go off. It was the amount of times that she flipped it on her.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, what? You know she's there. Why are you doing that? And she must have did it like 8 to 10 times, and I'm thinking, I know she's gonna, like, as soon as she turns it off, it's gonna be right in front of her.
Exactly.
But you didn't know which click it was gonna be.
Know.
And that's the, you know,
that was
intensity.
Good. Yeah, it was good.
You have to build up the intensity, you know, otherwise it's like...
Oh, it's so well made. I mean, they're so well made, so you can see why.
Like, literally, I don't think it costs anything.
No, not at all. And you know, his other films have the same vein in them too. And they're really short. You know, they're really, really short, which I think also goes to show you that you don't really need a lot of story oftentimes just to convey a concept. And in horror, that sort of idea works really well because it's that monster or that thing that is scaring. You know. There's another one called Pictured that's really good as well. That one's good. There's a bunch of other ones, and I know he's done some VFX breakdowns like on his YouTube and stuff like that about how he does those things, and he does that special effects stuff himself. You know, so all of the After Effects work that he does, he's skilled in that, which I'm sure has helped him doing a lot of the things now that he's doing. So I mean, I think, you know, it's what, you know, Wan and him are trying to push to a return to form, that let's take the horror movie back where it was, that it is a, you know, in a lot of ways a dignified, well-made movie with you know, a horror theme. You know, and that might not even be the way that they want to define it. They may be saying this is true horror, which I can also agree with, you know what I mean? But I think the way that us approaching it as an audience, that us caring about these characters and having these elements be so well crafted, you know, and not having just the dumb character who's, you know, prissy, or that you can define her as being, there's never like the hot chick in these movies, you know what I mean? You don't have like the hot girl or the dumb jock. You don't see anything like that. Yeah, it's all really well defined. It's the mother who cares about her child that's sick. You know what I mean?
And you notice that in all the movies.
Yeah, and there's so many characters here that are oftentimes based around families too, which I think works well. Yeah.
I mean, they have to be, because, you know, that's the whole part of a horror film is, you know, there's good and bad.
Yeah.
You know, if it was too bad, you know, if it's too evil components or elements, it's like, all right, there you go, that's it. But the real fear is that these are, you know, regular people.
Yeah.
This is something where they didn't ask for any of it.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the I guess the thing with the way the direction they're taking it, and they're using like supernatural spirits or whatever, something that, you know, the unknown.
Yeah, exactly.
And with no you know, preference or anything, you know, it's just pure horror.
Yeah,
it's pure evil.
Yeah,
and that's what you're getting.
It's like, you know, if it could happen to this, you know, this little girl, you know, like sure, shit could happen to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I could,
if it doesn't stop for a little girl, what do you think it's gonna do?
Right, exactly. So the more they get into that mentality of like, let's pick on the least, you know, least person that this spirit should be like messing with, you know, then that becomes scarier, you know. And I think that's the thing that horror movies miss the mark on a lot, is like, you know, this person should really be in it. I mean, that's and they don't deserve it a lot of times, and bad things happen to good people, you know. So that element of horror then gets to you too, because you're not like, oh, that guy's just, you know, he's just a jerk, so okay, he deserved that, which I think is very easy to do in these types of movies, but they avoid that.
Yeah.
And then I think there's certainly something that needs to be said about the fact that Wan writes a lot of these scripts himself. That's great. I mean, so, you know, obviously he's an incredible writer in that sense, and how he develops the story, because you can just see on the pacing of any of these, or, you know, Conjuring, Saw. I mean, this guy's made great horror movies, and they're just so well paced. I mean, if you go all the way back to Saw, that movie is it's really a thriller at its heart, but it's just so well fleshed out to the point that you really are behind when he wants you to be behind. You're with him when he wants you to be with him, and then you're in over your head by the end, and it's just so good. And you think you have the jump on him, but he always has another surprise for you, or you think you know how things are going to play out. but you really don't. So that's just great storytelling, and I think that emanating from a person, you know, and having these people be the writing force behind them makes it less of a, you know, a watered down experience, because this is what these people think. These people are experts at this, obviously, you know. So this is what these people think will make a great movie, right. And I think that's great, and it goes back to a lot of the conversations that we've had about, you know, having directors and having these filmmakers that are really masters of their craft, because you can't deny that Wan is at this point. It's undeniable. So having these people in control of that craft completely and controlling so much of the process, I think is lending to a much greater cinematic experience. And they also have a sense of where they've been and where they're going. You know, right. Oh, we've done this before, so let's evolve from that. And you can see the evolution happening.
It's evolved tremendously.
So giving them that opportunity and not being like, okay, let's bring in this new director, you know, or let's bring in this other person. What they did with Sandberg here, you could see, is that they brought in somebody that obviously him and Wan collaborate well together. That was proven on Lights Out, and on Lights Out. So, you know, bringing Sandberg in, obviously they agreed on their objectives, and you can even see some of Wan's techniques within the framework of Sandberg's film. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes and they sort of became Conjuring things. You know, they were like Conjuring, you know, moments. You know, like the moments where we're looking over the bed, and then we're coming back with her from looking over the bed, and then she looks over the other side of the bed, and something still doesn't happen. But it's, as an audience, you're like, wow, like I hope something happens. You know, so we don't have you know, so we don't have to sit here and, like, you know, wait for something. In a lot of cases, nothing would happen. But that's what Wan did in 1 and 2, Conjuring 1 and 2. That exact same movement in that shot. So having those things translate was really cool. So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else.
Yeah, and I liked how contained Annabelle was.
Yeah,
you know,
to one place.
Yeah, I mean, really, you know, because sometimes, you know, like some movies, like the first one that comes to my mind is like The Ring. You know, how they go from the farm and all, but then, you know, it goes to another part where she's what is she? She's like walking down the street in the city, and you're so detached. You know, there's so many locations, and you get detached from it. But in Annabelle creation, you know, they were there.
Yeah, and there was no escape from that.
Right, exactly, and
that's
what I like about Wan. He did with Conjuring, Insidious. He kind of did it with.
Were they? Oh yeah, they were in like the country in Conjuring. Yeah, which is really scary.
You know? And so I liked how it was like really contained.
Yeah, you know what's funny too is that you can definitely speak to how well they do their job too when they also break out of that too. So in Conjuring 2, they were in like a nice neighborhood. Like they can yell right to their neighbors. Like they can open the window and I mean, I wouldn't even think their neighbors can hear them screaming and stuff like that. But you know, that you weren't bothered by that because they created such an incredible sense of isolation for them that it felt like almost people weren't gonna actually, and he played on that too, that people weren't believing them too, you know, that this was happening and everything else. And even when they went over to the neighbor's house, there was other elements of horror that happened at the neighbor's house, wasn't there? Didn't they see somebody at the other? Yeah, they saw the thin, what was it, the thin man, whatever it was, the man with the book. What was that called? You know, the flipping page? No, it was something like this guy. Oh, it was when he was spinning around that lamp thing, and this guy appeared out of it.
Oh, right.
I don't remember the name of him.
Yeah, no.
But that character showed up at the neighbor's house.
Yep.
So, you know, they created that space of, they truly isolated them within, like, you know, would be a populated neighborhood, too. So that also, I think, proves the fact that they understand how to make you feel like you're trapped. You know, even in a realm where one would just think, oh, I'll just run down the street. You know, go someplace else. So, yeah, I mean, that's just great filmmaking. I mean, there's no doubt about it, because they just give you no sense of being able to escape that at any point, you know?
I mean, I definitely give them credit. I mean, I wasn't, is this the third one?
This is, you know, and there is the other Annabelle, too, which we didn't talk about yet.
Right, which one is this? This
is, okay, so there's Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2, and then there's the other Annabelle. And then there's this Annabelle.
Right, Annabelle was originally in Conjuring.
Annabelle was originally in Conjuring, and then also they did the other Annabelle with the woman. Remember the elevator scene? Yeah, that whole thing too.
So this technically...
I don't remember the name of that one.
Well, I thought this was a good one, because I didn't like the first Annabelle movie as much.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it didn't do it for me like The Conjuring did or anything
No,
like that.
it didn't.
But this one really...
Yeah, it was really good.
It really surprised me.
It was really good. Yeah, like, I think with that one, what was different or maybe didn't gel as well is it didn't seem like... It just did... I think there was a sense that woman... there was a... Actually, you know what? That was about a woman who was older, who seemed like she kind of had command of the situation in some ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unlike, I feel like Conjuring and everything else plays on kids, you know what I mean?
Well, I was just saying about that. I mean, Annabelle, in this one, newest one, Creation, it deals with like a family with 3 daughters.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened in The Conjuring.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, so I guess,
it's scary
like
when it happens to kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because you look at it this way, I'm like, I guess there is a thing where, like, when you're a kid, you're more open-minded and you're more susceptible to
you're more vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. And so
you're more willing
for like something to feed off of children like that. Like, that's scary because it always turns out like the parents are like, oh, just go to bed, you had a bad dream.
Yeah.
And then slowly or surely the parents are like,
yeah, like this is not good.
This is gone a little too far.
Yeah, and that's a scary
concept.
concept.
And then once they realize that, then it's like,
because
you had your chance.
Who hasn't run into their parents' room and been like, this was scary in my room, you know, and then had them be like, oh, just go to sleep.
Yeah.
But like there's like a demon force there, Whoa, think about that. That's scary.
Yeah, once
because that happened in the movie, that messed me up for a few minutes. I'm like, whoa, they don't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe there was lessons learned from that experience too, with the fact that there was, again, it's like the more able-bodied somebody is, the less that it becomes scary. The more in over their head these characters are. What works, I think, about the counterbalance to Conjuring too, or Conjuring as well, I should say, is that even though Ed and Lorraine have the sense of, we're going to stop these ghosts and they have a plan, they always seem to be in over their head. And she, specifically Lorraine Warren, right? She seems to be completely spiritually overwhelmed by them all the time. So, like, she's not really, they always say, like, she's always on the brink of collapse, which is solid because that doesn't make us feel like, oh, don't worry, the Ghostbusters are going to take care of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, even though we love the Ghostbusters. But, that sort of feeling also creates, like, they're putting themselves out by going and fighting these things, and they may not make it through, and it seemed like actually he was going to die in the other one, right? So that was scary.
Yeah.
So, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else in regards to this.
No, I'm very surprised. I mean, Sandberg and Wan and the new Annabelle is really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
And what do you know what they're planning to do next? Is there any word of?
I think they're trying to make the movie about the nun.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The Woman in Black or
I'm pretty sure
wasn't that called like The Woman in Black or something like that?
I don't think they've made it yet.
No.
Or I don't think I think they're still in early stages of it.
Okay.
And I just think, going back to, then the thesis of all this is that if these guys can make franchises out of their franchises and have them be good, have them be really good and have us talking about them, then I think they deserve tremendous credit.
Didn't he do Netflix or something?
Which thing?
James Wan?
I'm trying to think, like a movie on Netflix?
Or maybe like a series, or did he do anything like that? If he hasn't, he should.
You're right, he should.
Because he likes to. It seems like
he might have, honestly, because he's been producing a lot. He's producing really a lot. And I haven't seen his. I'm not actually as familiar with his producing resume as I am with what he's written and directed, to be very honest. But yeah, you're right. Like, he's probably. I think what he is he's the kind of guy that tries to be very focused on the one thing. So maybe he's sort of seeing the way all these franchises play out for him, and then he'll sort of go, because there's no doubt, I mean, the doors would be open for him. They would consider that, that would be a very high marquee value for them to have the guy behind The Conjuring and Insidious, Saw, everything, backing their thing. But you're right, like, there's a tremendous series potential too with him. I mean, that would be so cool if there was like something that they wanted to tackle. I mean, look at American Horror Story. I mean, that's been going on for a long time. So yeah, it'd be awesome to see James Wan do something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, we look forward to any of his filmmaking. I mean, this guy's. I mean, he's just great. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And he's redefining the genre too.
Really, yeah, he's really bringing it back in. I mean, if I was gonna rate the Annabelle movie, I would give it a solid like. In terms of like horror and just like really getting into it, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
Just about. I mean, the ending is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm like the ending is that's what it's about. It's the ending.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
you just sit there and you just gotta face palm yourself in the way like okay, and you just gotta take it.
It's great.
It's so cool.
It's so great. But so yeah, guys, listen. We wanted to thank you for sitting here and listening to this. We'd love to know what you think of the Conjuring series. Also, where this can be going. Any other ideas you guys have, or any thoughts if you agree or disagree on some of these points. And if you also agree with the fact that James Wan, David Sandberg, and the Conjuring series is sort of redefining the genre and pushing forward into the type of genre filmmaking that we hope to see more of. And it's really a great thing. It really is, and we wish them all the best with it. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good one.